welcome to Critical Tumble, where a bunch of longtime friends and internet nerds transcend geography through the power of Discord to play Dungeons and Dragons, and critically fumble a lot. We are missing Minotaur at the moment, so we'll still get stuff done, but we probably won't be getting into the combat I vaguely had in mind, but I'm sure that kind of thing can wait for another session or two, maybe. We'll just have to see how everything goes. Previously, the Cupcake Coterie, after a whole bunch of running around Equitas, with the whole extinction of the Azamar race, pretty much, because 3 will not remake a species, even if one of them wasn't married to a woman. They're on the trail of former Azamar, now turned Aranese, and the one they call the Giggling Lunatic, with a highly unstable radiant energy bomb. There was an omen search after a couple of days hiatus, I guess is the best sort of phrase, because it's not a vacation when the only reason that you're staying in bed or bed equivalent is that you are too exhausted and in too much pain to move, owing to making themselves immune to the soul taint. But they needed to figure out where this radiant energy bomb was going to end up. So Hazel called upon the power of her deity, channeled through her omen gremlin of a church griffin, and they determined that it was going to end up in the Elvenwild. It was probably slightly a relief for Rylan anyway, because they came to the Cupcake Coterie to ask for their help, and they've spent the last month or so running around everywhere but the Elvenwild. But of course it does mean it's been some while, and they don't really have any idea of what is going on. They did bring a whole bunch of supplies, but there's some recon to be done before they get into what their mission is. I mean, Barnabas, once the supplies are being loaded out, he helps with that, but then goes, I know Remy isn't going to want to leave Alzay at the moment, but with both Carter's Combine and the Howlers, I think I should go and check on their fortifications. If you'll find out anything that I really need to know about, I'll be back when I've checked in on everything. I may as well go along and see what I can actually do. If you need either one of us, I'm sure we'll be findable, particularly by somebody with wings. I am errand angel? I don't know. Yeah, so off those two go, and the elder, who literally does just go by elder, sort of goes, right. Things obviously need to be discussed. Normally when we have visitors, we'd escort you to the visitor's tent, but you seem to have that covered at the moment. Gather yourselves as needed, and Rylan will be able to show you to the elder's tent. I'm sure you'll have questions by this point, but Rylan, thank you. We weren't quite expecting immediate, thankfully, but better now than later, put it that way.
Definitely.
and heads off towards sort of the more protected center of this Ewok village colony. So, I mean, yeah, what questions do we have? I mean, obviously, we're obviously here for our own agendas, but if it was just a dragon, a green dragon, this place probably wouldn't still be here.
Yeah.
Well, just a general rundown of what's been going on. Just the situation would be good.
Well, given Barnabas is checking on fortifications, I mean, to be fair, weren't they getting attacked? Sorry, Rylan, weren't you guys getting attacked by Drow and Dwergar and that kind of thing already? And
there had been.
And whatever came out of High Elf Palace Place after we blew through. So yeah, I mean, a general rundown, but I guess if we come up with any specific questions, it'll probably be somewhere in the middle. I just don't want us interrupting the man the way we normally do.
Definitely a good call.
And we probably should warn them that attractive individuals with wings, apart from me, are not to be trusted. Because, beyond some coloration, which they might not know to notice, I mean, they'd barely heard of Azamar at all in various spots, so they might not know enough to differentiate. And we're basically looking for them and Giggling Lunatic and, yeah, finding out what's up with that dragon. Michigan has kind of taken up residence on top of Hazel's head again.
I recall I'd gone.
You had. But somebody is going. He's first of all, Michigan is still on your head.
Oh yeah, that just happens these days, I think.
So yeah, I'll say is, do we drag Hazel out of the medical tent? Because I know she wants to help, and she can do later, but we're saving the world here.
We need to get Hazel.
I will get Hazel. Or maybe Clarity can get Hazel.
I'll get her.
Should we assume Green Dragon is tainted, or...?
We should assume nothing.
That is precisely what I was going to say.
This is when we turn around to the person who actually knows everything that's been going on and say, talk to me like I'm 5. Yeah, meantime, Clarity is heading into their, for lack of a better word, hospital tent. And yeah, I mean, there are certain amounts of healing magics as well as potions and poultices and all the rest of it. The thing is that Clarity will notice that every single one of the healers in this place, Hazel included, are somewhere on the spectrum of freaked out to pissed off. And Hazel, this is because healing magics and the like don't seem to be working as well as they should. And you're not used to that. Yeah, Hazel's on the side of... It's that twitch. You know that twitch.
And I'm actually starting to gibbly.
Well, given the fig smelling stuff, your hair is okay. This is a hand of
How
fate
much
time.
is it gibbling through that?
I mean that's the hand of fate hates you. The your hair got dramatic and has now kind of burritoed Michigan.
Fucking fuck.
That doesn't care. It's just it's basically like the hair is snugging. So every so often you just get snug.
Darling, you've got
Yeah.
a twitch. You've got a twitch. What's going on?
They sent you. They sent you because you have the highest chance of getting me out of here. Yes. You look around, vibrate briefly, hand the, I guess, whichever medical procedure I was in the middle of, like, or poultice I was in the middle of putting together, just handing it to somebody immediately next to me.
The twitch, though. I want to know. What's.
That is something that I think needs to be said to everybody, because if I have to say it multiple times, I'm probably going to go off like a smaller version of the radiant energy kaboom.
One thing you guys
Alright.
will have is some very interesting idiom in elven swearing. The wood elves of this area have some very interesting phrasings when it comes to certain sexually explicit acts and who should be performing them on their enemies.
Right. I'm just gonna take you by the shoulders and guide you. We're going to the elders' tent. Come along.
That's around when you notice that Michigan is burritoed in Hazel's hair.
Oh, that's gonna take some doing. He's just gonna have to stay there for now. Come along.
Like reach, pat.
Snug.
Oh dear.
He's becoming one with your head.
This is going to be interesting to deal with.
Yeah, as you guys head for the elders' tent, and the elders apparently brewing up tea of some description, Alice takes one look and rummages in bag, pulls out a couple of detangling combs, gestures to Hazel, sit.
I'm just going to shrug and go sit down.
Yeah, it actually takes a while. The thing is, she's not so much hurting you, but Michigan keeps being wobbled by the attempts, and it's not enough to cause hit point damage, but there's a certain amount of claw scrabble. I'm sorry, but he can't get down until I finish this. The elder...
No need to apologize.
The elder is looking around at this bunch as Alice brings out the stuff that smells like figs and tries again. Looks at Rylan and goes, "Are they always like this?"
Yes.
And we sent you.
Unfortunately, yes.
And we sent you for them. Okay. I think some of our number thought they might have improved a little once the mopey elf went off to apprentice with one of Nerul's psychopomps. But apparently not.
But I got him.
You did. And all the rest of them should sit down and possibly eat, possibly have some tea, because they all look various degrees of unsettled. And Alice says, "I am listening. It's just we can't really bring a head griffin into battle." And I'm pretty sure Hazel would hit me with something if I tried cutting it. Spray, spray, spray. Why? How did this happen anyway?
I got mad enough that the hare tried to escape.
And it doesn't foomp anymore, so it dramatic around Michigan. Why were you that mad?
So, medical tent, right?
Yes.
There's magic that can remove disease, seal up every wound possible, regrow limbs, that kind of thing. None of this is working quite so well here.
The elder.
As in, pump energy into it, ask for more from the divine, and still nothing!
The elder
Yes.
hands over one of those little, no handle, so more of a drinking bowl than a teacup, but hands it to Hazel and drink it. Calm down. We know.
Even on wounds that are just like from swords, mundane weapons, it's not just
These days,
infections, corruption.
do you think there's any such thing as just a sword?
Fair point.
Considering what they're clearly fighting around here?
I mean, it might not be your soul taint in all cases, but some of the wounds that have been reported have a different sort of magic than the ones that just make your sword hit harder and carry whatever taint of infections that are not known here. Most of these people come from one of two places that we're aware of that isn't this soul taint corruption. The Underdark and the Shadowfell. The latter's been a little more rare since we blocked off the cemetery. That's a thin spot, so we obviously don't want our grave marker trees to be tainted, but we also don't want them thinking that the Shadowfell near our area has a lot of the Shadarkai, and some fair few of them got out before we fenced off the graveyard. And I know that at least some of you know the Shadowfell well enough to know that the kinds of infections that can be brought out of there are quite different than the ones that are here. And when you're talking about the Underdark, that's something else again.
So many things, well, there's only so many casts of Greater Restoration one can put out. That's
And-
just to solve the effect. That doesn't seal anything.
The thing is that the sealing is usually fine. It's the infection that doesn't go. The best way I can frame it is that those infections do not recognize our gods.
Right, they're planar nonsense.
There is the potential to have the healing and the treatment of the infection properly, we simply do not have the numbers to ensure it. Even if we could leave the immediate surroundings. There are a few plants. I don't know that... I hope that where they grow has not been tainted. We have foragers, but we only sent out 2 parties to have them not come out before we gave up. We obviously want to save as many people as possible, but we can't keep throwing foragers out into an unwinnable situation. And we couldn't bring warriors with them because they're needed to defend the immediate territory. As for what's happening here, I'm grateful that your Minotaur friend is looking at our fortifications, because honestly, daytime is marginally quiet. Most of the attacks, for obvious reasons, happen in the dark. We have unfortunately had more daytime attacks of, I believe, they were referred to by your people as draconians. We don't know whether to expect another attack by them today. We're hoping not. But our information, as our foraging ability, is somewhat limited at present. Right now, it's all we can do to protect our people. LSA finally getting Hazel's hair clear of Michigan, who still doesn't move, just butt wiggles a little and then just no more snug.
Squooch.
Snug. In answer to the question I'm fairly sure that Rylan won't want to ask, casualties have been, depending on your outlook, few. We have a great many wounded who may die if we can't get their infections dealt with. But the deaths that there have been more of a kindness than anything else. We have lost a good half dozen hunters to the tainted daytime forces. Unfortunately, 4 of those are still with the tainted forces. We are only limited in numbers at the moment because we did manage some evacuation before things became untenable. I understand that we had a limited guard with the children, the elderly. I'm assuming they made it as far as Cedar Grove, but we haven't had a way to be in contact. Unfortunately, this is a standoff that cannot continue, but with our numbers as they are, I don't know how much more we can do. Do any of you have questions for me?
You know if the green dragon is painted yet, or just as is, or
We have not seen the green dragon. I believe you would have come back to a poison wasteland if we had.
fair point.
Yeah, Alice is giving me, that is what I was trying to tell you.
I mean, more like scouting or something.
I don't think the scouts would have lasted very long if they'd seen him either.
There's also potentially a gaggle of Aranyes that have come here, along with a giggling lunatic of an alchemist.
Excuse me, Aranyes?
Yes.
Alice is that was a. He doesn't know what they are.
Ah,
Basically, kind of like this, but I'm the only one like this you should be trusting right now. They're devils.
former celestials turned devils.
The only reason I didn't flag that up is because not all Aranese come that way. Those ones just did because they're assholes.
Yeah.
Does this explanation hold any relevance? Not that I don't want to hear it anyway. In fact, I do want to hear it anyway. But I understand if you don't want to waste time with it. But I am... How? What?
You're asking about how they changed or how that's
Right.
attached to the...
Out of character, Rylan, you know the Elder relatively well. Azamar heard from reports. Aranese doesn't know, doesn't understand how a Celestial can become a devil, and wants to know how that happened in this instance, particularly when Alice is the only one of them they can trust. Basically, it's one of those sum it up from the beginning because the Elder is lost and he really doesn't like that.
The Asimar went through a heavily major genocide. Alice here is one of only 3 we know of still in being.
And
The Aranese
I think we know if there were more. Ziriel would have said something, I'm fairly sure. Sorry, continue.
The Aranese were after and through a blood ritual that we're trying to still kind of up.
Alice is... They appealed to Asmodeus, Lord of Hell. Well, Lord of Avernus, really, but, you know. Because technically they've got the same enemy. This soul taint. They're just fighting it from a very unfortunate angle.
They decided that their best solution was literally any solution to the issue, even if it meant genocide, blood magic, and the annihilation of anything that happened to be in between them and the soul taint.
And what the reason that we're asking about them is they're carrying a highly unstable radiant energy bomb that contains the celestial spark of pretty much the entire Azamar race. We're pretty sure that using it, or it going off by accident, which it could do, will punch holes in the fabric of the planes.
To the point that it could basically recreate the Shattered Lands, but here.
Yeah, this guy is his forest. He doesn't really know about the Shattered Lands either.
According to myth, the Shattered Lands are the result of Tiamat getting smashed through the plains by Bahamut, and it happened over a continent.
And Michigan...
That continent doesn't exist anymore.
Michigan kind of looks up. Not myth.
Yeah, and it turns out very much more true than anyone could have ever thought.
Ah, so there was actually a mechanic by which Tiamat was locked into. All right. All of this
Resulted in an area that used to be a continent that is now so fractured that there are bits of it in other planes that still connect to here.
This has all become very complicated. I'm not sure how some of this is related, but it all seems to be.
Well, if they use that thing, the device containing that much divine energy, all the divine sparks of...
No, that part I understood. It is simply that I suppose I can almost understand, given that Draconian, Shadar Kai, the Dwergar, and the Drow, we've been under siege on all sides for a while, and being dealt with harshly by most of those for longer yet. Originally, I thought it was because we were so close to a thin space leading to the Shadowfell, but apparently not.
Some cases, the types of people who do this sort of thing are doing it because you happen to be in the way, and it's just...
Oh, yes, as far as I've been made aware, we did very much happen to be in the way of a conquest of the Elvenwild that didn't go quite as originally intended. Does anybody want to make me an insight check?
Despite being a ball of rage, I'm definitely going to do that. Island with the soul. Whoa! Double soul read.
Yeah, I mean,
Triple.
there's more for Darvin, Ava, and Hazel. There's obviously more to this than the Elder's saying. For Hazel in particular, he's clearly being careful for your benefit, because apparently he's heard some stories. Remy has clearly been taking lessons from Alice, Rylan, and Clarity. He said a couple of times that he had information. And Clarity's heard the story well enough to, and so has Rylan, to remember that the one they thought was the Lady Amavela, who turned out to be her twin, was very much involved in an apparent takeover of the High Elves spot. And the twin, who you know as Astra, was very annoyed when Ianthe, well, whatever blondish individual, because it didn't look like Ianthe at the time, actually sitting on the throne, wasn't very happy about having to take a back seat to this individual. And no doubt the second things got combat. This guy has talked to Hazel's aunt, the one Hazel thought of as her mother, recently.
You've talked to Lady Emma Vela
We know who she
recently?
is. We know who she is, and yes. We simply didn't want to bring it up because we understand it is a sore spot.
Where is the bitch?
You see, that's where I have the problem. I understand your anger. I do very much. She knows too much to have us let you have your way with her.
Why were you in contact with her?
Mostly because she came surrendering herself with information for the promise of not dying.
Doesn't need her limbs to be alive.
And has that information been
Hazel.
Yeah,
useful? Is
Hazel.
she telling the truth?
So far, she seems to have been. Still looking at Hazel. We have negotiated a deal that she has not yet broken.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'll tell you this much, we don't like it either. She was the one responsible for most of the policies that made our lives this difficult.
And
It's not as if she's being kept in particular comfort.
yeah, and since you've already made, made an arrangement, I'm going to do my best to not rock that boat for you.
Thank you. To be honest, the other reason is a very selfish one. She's bad enough now. If she was tainted, how much worse would it be?
Fair point.
Yeah, understandable.
But yes, it does mean that we have granted the information had to be picked out of a welter of complaints about how that particular agreement that she attempted to make with the interloper did not go at all as she'd planned. I believe one of our guards put it as, I believe she calls our guest Lady Bitchmoan Wine. I also believe Brandon lets Cal blip in there to lick her face just because of her aversion to slobber.
Good.
This is
Just
disturbing.
fall off my chair.
This is disturbing.
You weirdly get used to it.
Yeah, Joker cackling continues.
Hazel.
Yeah, the elder is looking more and more unsettled at this point.
He's all,
Have a little decorum, please.
That is some of the best news I have heard in a while.
Well, Brandon doesn't entirely have it in him to be cruel, simply passive-aggressive. When she complained, I believe he gave her the big sad eyes and said, I just wanted to provide you some comfort and fluff loves in your time of confinement. I was just trying
Hitting
to
them
be
with kindness.
nice.
Kidding them with kindness.
Oh no, he knows she hates it.
Yeah.
It just has
This is more
the-
actively fucking with her, which is
This is-
legitimately the best thing.
the terms are passive aggression and plausible deniability.
Honestly, and with that, I still want to at least see her, but mostly just to gloat.
That's not a good idea.
Alice says that really isn't a good idea.
not at all.
I mean, can I flag
Yeah,
up that
Very much not a good idea.
I have similar problems with her to you, given that she pointed me into the fucking Shadowfell. And most of y'all should be pissed off because you had to follow me in there.
That there was a lot in there.
Mind you,
Things with-
worked with as well. So, yeah.
Lampreys with
Jesus.
feet.
Yeah, not just one or a few. That was a horde.
I think I missed those.
Yeah, you wound up with just the walking, groaning jaw that tried to eat you.
Yeah, let's not forget the claws. The claws were pretty shit too.
I'm glad I wasn't there for that.
Yeah. I am doubly glad you weren't there for that. That would have sucked.
I seem to recall Darwin trying to write a comedy ballad out of that one because of the chunk one of them took out of his backside. Looking at Darwin like, have I got this right, kind of thing.
Yeah, the rhyming didn't quite
Well, you
come
were.
together.
I kind of thought the chorus bit was kind of unkind to yourself as well. Something about fat-bottomed bards you make the rockin' world go round.
Yeah, I was
I'm
not
gonna
proud of
look
that
at
one.
the elder with an
Yeah, you're
apologetic
right, that was a
expression.
little-
See,
I
A
this
little too self-deprecating even for me.
Alice is, well, it shouldn't be. I know this one guy who made this entire rap battle thing with the people about his love of large backsides. The look on all of your faces just out of character.
Out of character, I adore you.
I know entirely too well what that's referring to.
Yeah, you all
and
do. I
heard
can
it
tell.
recently through some nonsense, through a filter of some supreme nonsense that I wish I could show you without context, but it's impossible, and now it's...
Anyway, yeah, as Hazel's giving the apologetic look, apparently this the elder can take. And actually says, this seems to be a whistling past the graveyard situation. I can deal with that. I cannot deal with
Yeah.
maniacal laughter. I hear a bit
We are
too...
glad to know she's off the board. Yeah.
She's
So many other threats we're trying to chase down.
she's still an information source, but unless somebody thinks she's worth taking and can get in here to do it, she's probably going to stay right where she is. And yes, don't worry, she is kept in an anti-magic cell.
That means she's not going to just abruptly try to leave.
Making that was interesting. We don't normally have any use for that sort of long-term prisoner accommodation. Yeah, Ryland knows that if somebody does anything particularly bad, they stick them in a cage hanging from one of the larger branches with only relatively thin, though sturdy, sticks on the bottom, so they've got to stand very, very still. And the worse the crime, the longer they stand there in one shift and they're through and So it's mostly a muscle strain kind of situation.
Oh god, it's like it's like one of the ones in Japanese classrooms. He'd be stuck standing outside with buckets of water.
Something like that, but in this case you would best not have any kind of foot cramp or you're going to fall to your death. Or close to, depending on how Hazel-like they are in chucking themselves out windows. Yeah, you weren't there for that one, Nix, but anyway, yes, so... Yes,
Don't put Hazel in a box, especially in a box that's at the top of a tower. She will just yeet.
Yeah, putting her in the wood elves form of confinement would probably end poorly. But at least you're not in a box at that point. In any case, I'm honestly not sure what the next few days are going to bring. I know you are here for more reasons than us.
We need to find the Aerones before they can use that weapon. It could destroy things on a scale that is beyond description.
Yes. You'll probably have to speak to the scouts if you want any kind of information about what they have seen and what they should be looking for the next time they go out. And if it's as urgent as you say, we're probably going to have to send them all out.
Mm-hmm.
Tell them, when you speak to them, that they need to go with birds. Because it's possible, and in fact likely, that not all of them will come back. Our foragers are being lost. We can't exactly afford to lose scouts, but we can't afford to have that bomb go off either. One, we stand a better chance of surviving if it happens. But I may have to ask you to do something for me. There are a few, as I explained earlier, there are a few plants that can be applied to poultices that will be able to kill the infections that we're seeing and allow healing magic to work properly. If our scouts are looking for something this dangerous, I will probably need you to collect them.
Of course.
Yes.
Let's find us.
You'll need to speak to the apothecary.
Absolutely no hesitation from Darwin. Just, yes, just done.
You will need to speak to the apothecary for the exact locations of these. These aren't something a druid can grow on their own. So even getting seeds wouldn't be helpful. We obviously need... do any of you know anything about... do any of you know anything about foraging? Alice?
Would I have any
I
clue?
don't know if I do in my character. Probably not.
You wouldn't, you're too city.
Well, I mean,
No.
You probably
yeah, scavenging. is
No,
different.
you're a noble.
Yeah, but that's been.
No.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
You're kept on the
I
estate.
am a ranger.
Yes, that doesn't necessarily mean you did foraging while you were out there. I figured it was more along the lines of hunting and selling the meat and furs to make ends meet, because most of what you know is there's a lot of stuff that looks like edible things that are toxic, so maybe don't.
Right. Okay.
But hunting was something you were encouraged to do. Small game usually, but, rabbit meat, rabbit fur sells for reasonably. That makes a good meal for you, so then you can trade for anything else you needed.
I don't have proficiency in it, but I do have at least a score.
That's more nature and survival.
Yeah, I've got survival.
Currently,
there.
what I'm looking at is what you might have had occasion to do. Clarity's probably read a few herbals, so she might know some things, but possibly not how best to forage them. She'd probably be able to identify the difference between a poisonous mushroom and an incredibly similar-looking edible mushroom, but picking them is probably not so much. Rylan and Hazel probably would have, because in their own ways they've lived in wooded areas, and either foraging was their primary means of getting vegetables, or in Hazel's case, it added to your diet. That's how you got the hazelnuts and various berries and that kind of thing. Spare room on the farm and in the gardens for stuff that doesn't grow wild outside. And as for Alice, she is of the people, and while obviously she'd need stuff pointed out, gathering stuff is not a big deal. So some of you can. If the apothecary describes to you what it is that you'll be looking for. And those of you who can't, well, I'm sure you can cover people's backs while they are. And I gather your Minotaur friend, seeing the kind of individual he seems to be, will probably be working with our various guards on fortifications for a while. I assume it's
most likely.
I assume it's best not to distract him from that.
He gets started, he just keeps going.
But small, so you'd probably be most help doing that. Once we do.
Fair enough. I just wondered if it was worth distracting him from that if you needed him. But we could obviously use his experience. We're dealing with a more militaristic enemy than we're generally used to. That's the problem. The Drow have always been structured in their approach. I'm assuming that's a societal thing, but the Dwergar have been getting more organized lately. And just as we adjust to that, we get the strange dragonish things. Bipeds. I'm not sure if they qualify as people. We haven't exactly got one to question. And they're a whole different kind of... I'm sure there's tactics in there somewhere, but it seems to be, stampede.
Well, most of their tactics would be coming from things that look like somewhere between Dragonborn and Devil.
The Abishai.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And
yeah,
I believe
the
some
only way that they would have.
some of those seem, you may have noticed someone, at least one person mentioned that your Barnabas, it was mentioned that he's not the right color to be that one. We've seen a very large black minotaur.
Oh. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Well, that would explain how they're...
That one's got an association with someone we are having to keep an eye out for.
Yes.
No, he's the one who's keeping them organized.
There is that. There is a blue Abishai and a turtle person.
They're
The other one.
commanders of a sort.
Yeah.
The one left out of that gaggle would be a red dragonborn.
That we have not seen, but
Probably still in awareness.
at which point Alice sort of, wait a minute. Didn't you guys say that Arkan and those were setting up an army
Mm-hmm.
in Avernus?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what we saw.
So why are his main people here if he's going to send that against Asmodeus?
There must be something here that he has an interest in.
Well, the army might actually have been for other purposes. For all we know.
Okay.
They could have changed purposes. They remember the deity that's causing most of our problems right now has 5 heads and probably 5 different opinions on anything at any given moment.
That's the thing. The Drow, the Duergar, Draconians, they're on the same side, but they're not necessarily on the same side.
On the same side, not necessarily guided by one specific mind, because the thing that is directing them is extra planar weird, mentally speaking.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah, it makes
My question is, we know, well,
layers of the hells and whatever connection.
Edith, shut up and let my Rika speak.
if Falcon's in Avernus and his other cohorts are here, there's one person that seems unaccounted for.
Well, where I was gonna go with that one was, I'm sure you guys can give me a decent description from what the apothecary says. So what I'm gonna do while you guys are asking about that is do a bit of aerial scouting. See if I can see what the hell is going on over in the High Elf Castle, because that's That's the one place I can think of that they would have set up a home base.
That makes sense.
And if there is that army there, I should be able to see it, and I should be able to see who's leading it. And how close they are to deploying.
Would be useful information.
Don't worry, I can be a lot more careful these days. Less Azamar smash and more monk shit.
Good luck out there, okay?
Don't worry, if at the very least consider
Come
that
home.
I'm not likely to get into trouble by being careless, because I know damn well that you guys will do something stupid to get me out of it if I do.
Yep.
That is definitely our habit, yes.
Eminently so.
Yes, and I don't want you guys to do anything stupid on my behalf unless it's completely unavoidable. So, the Elder is just going, you are the most blasé heroes. Oh, you should actually see when one of us is actually in trouble. Blasé goes out the window.
Pretty much.
Honestly, I'd have to wonder if there's an adventuring party that doesn't eventually turn into this. Blasé until problem.
I'll say it's like the first principles.
They have a whole different
But they're still adventurers. Stop
Thing.
moving the goalposts.
Yeah, so you're making a good point there.
And don't take away our uniqueness. This is just us.
They also a fair point, yes.
Ruffles Hazel's hair, ruffles the top of Michigan's head, kisses Remy on top of the head, and is heading in the direction of out and into the trees. And since we're at the halfway mark, we will take break, and when we come back, you will converse with the apothecary and see what you can come up with foraging-wise.
Mm-hmm.
And we're back, still at the Wood Elves village in the Elvenwild, about to head off to see the apothecary to find out what needs foraging. Rylan can lead the way to the apothecary's place of residence. However, the apothecary is probably not quite what you guys expected. Rylan will recognize that this rather young man is actually the apothecary's apprentice and is looking kind of frazzled. Which, for Rylan, it probably indicates that the apothecary is no more. Or got evacuated because he was fairly elderly. Oh, hi. Oh, Rylan, hey.
Hey. The elder mentioned you guys have been having some trouble getting to some plants.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Dittany, thankfully, we managed to pick up a whole bunch of, and I'm okay for that for now, but the wounds that we've been getting have been problematic, so there's some stuff we kind of need. To be honest, one of them started growing kind of recently, so I'm not 100% sure how much I trust it, or maybe it's just the one good thing about this entire nightmare nonsense. His name is Tam, by the way. I'm looking for star nettle, one you probably haven't heard of, called Dracus flower, green specifically. And if you can find any, it's really going to be the main thing. Lady Luck.
Star nettle, green dracus flower.
Yeah. I'm dancing. some people call it dancing nettle, but star nettle is what I call it for people who don't know it very well, because that's the shape of the leaves. You know what
Makes a lot of sense.
you know what nettles look like. It's like that, but the leaves are star shaped. Because nettle tea can be quite nice, but it doesn't do the kinds of things that star nettle does. Dracus flower, like I say, is new. Some of you will actually, I think some of the ones of you who aren't from here will probably recognize this bit a bit better. You know dandelion? You know daffodils?
Mhm.
Well, they look kind of like that, but they come in 5 different colors: white, red, green, blue, black.
And you want the green.
Yes, because some of this is a poisonish kind of thing, and if you brew it right, it gives resistance or immunity to poisons. And Lady Luck is 4-leaf clover, but not just any 4-leaf clover. They glow kind of faintly, and I don't know if they would have survived in all this mess, but that's gonna be what kicks all of it off and makes it absolutely sure to work. But, I can't really describe it as anything but, faintly glowing 4-leaf clover.
Do you have any, if we can manage it, do you have any use for the other colours of Dracus flower or just the green?
Well, we haven't really used many of them. Like I say, they're fairly new, and I'm assuming that they give the resistances to, like, red would be fire, white would be ice, that kind of thing. And if I wasn't so busy brewing potions and poultices and all the rest of it, just to keep people alive, maybe I'd have time to make something that's, Rylan, you can tell this poor kid is like, I barely manage to keep people alive as it is. Can you not ask me to do any more? But he's too polite to say that. He's just vibrating.
Just asking.
He's still getting the look of,
We're gonna get you as much of the plants as we can.
thank you.
You're doing your best, and that's what counts. You got this.
Looks at Hazel. What?
It's really strange seeing it from this angle.
I was about to say, Remy glances at Hazel.
Wait, what? What?
Stress vibration.
You remind
Kind of.
us of a friend. It's a compliment.
You are not alone in the stress causing that.
All I say is just kind of, kid, I am really sorry that they are making you feel as self-conscious as they are. So they're gonna shut up now. At which point,
So, whereabouts can we find these?
well, nettles you're gonna find predominantly around the bases of trees. They tend to like oaks, like really, really like oaks. Like try to strangle them to death. Oaks. Dracus flower for green, you're mostly gonna find around marshy ground. Lady Luck, honestly, just about anywhere if you can find it at all. If you're lucky, you will find it.
From here, any particular like foraging grounds or direction or like that we should head in? So we're not just wandering, basically.
He's got the panic look, and yeah, again, this is for Rylan because this is Rylan's territory. This kid hasn't even finished his apprenticeship. He's not a forager. He has never been out there. He knows how to use it. He doesn't go out picking it, and now he's feeling like even more of a fraud than he already did. So Darvin is just getting.
Darvin, that's something I can help with. We're gonna let you be.
Sorry.
We're gonna let you be. You're doing your best. I know this is a lot. Believe me, I understand more than you might realize.
No,
You're doing your best, and that's the part that counts.
I know you understand. It's just you're surrounded by a whole bunch of people who don't seem to all that much. Thank you. I'm gonna keep working with what I've got, and hopefully we'll be able to keep things at bay until you get back with the rest of it. Again, for Rylan, that hesitance is kind of, can maybe not all of these people come with the plants if you find them, because some of them really kind of freak me out. As to be fair, this kid is younger than Hazel, who's only just turned 19, so this kid hasn't even really hit his majority yet. And currently he's, pharmaceutical rep in a war zone.
We're gonna get you as many of those plants as we can.
Thanks. Man. And given I haven't, I theoretically had Alice leave, but given that I tried to step in to save some of your dumbasses, Alice is. It sounds like Lady Luck is going to be the hardest one to find.
Mm-hmm.
So
when
I do that aerial scout, I'll see what I can find as far as that goes. Something faintly glowing shouldn't be too hard to spot around here. And guys, seriously, let Clarity and Rylan bring plants to this poor kid, because he seems to have enough problems. He doesn't really need to deal with some of us. But I'm sure Rylan knows where the oak trees and the marshy spots are.
Mm-hmm.
And Michigan is just delicious.
No.
Because you were talking about plants, and clearly plants are food to this guy as much as anything else. Aw. No, because yeah, snug.
Okay.
Started.
I mean, assuming that you're heading directly out and into the woodland areas.
Yep.
I mean,
If that's where the lead is going, then yeah, because we're kind of relying on Rylan right now to navigate.
Yep.
Well, I'm assuming because Rylan knows y'all are gonna take the elevator down. Of course, the problem with that is that the elevator stops a little further off the ground than it used to. They've tried to put together a makeshift platform, but the area around the tree is thankfully not tainted exactly, but the ground is remarkably squishy from the looks of it, and honestly, of this group, it's Remy who would realize the liquid that is making it as mucky as it is. This is mud from a blood soaking.
It is.
All Rylan knows is it didn't used to be this squishy by the roots. What's going on?
Oh, that's bad.
And the elder
What is
wasn't
that?
understating how bad, that's for sure.
Insight.
For what? What are you trying to find out that they're not saying?
Why are they being this vague?
You could just ask.
Yeah, she's got a point. You could just ask, because you see mucky ground.
Okay, I know
It's-
I know we're not usually very good at details when they're needed, but this is a case of them being needed. Explain,
Yeah,
because
what
this is
that?
squishy, but I don't.
Doesn't look like a tank, but it's clearly not normal.
It's not water, it's blood.
That's what I was worried it was.
Yeah, Darvin has probably got the lightest colored boots of any of you, because Ava's are red, so it's not going to show up so much. Darvin's are sort of a lightish brown, so he lifts a foot, and yeah, where it would normally be mud, that's a reddish brown. That's, if it were water, it'd be just plain old brown.
Yeah, that's
Mm.
red. That's very red.
Just the halfling word for
Loud enough to apparently kick on your noise cancellation.
or the first half of it didn't pick up.
Either way.
Hmm.
Yeah, but apparently there's been enough fighting around here that they've kind of put up a temporary elevator landing pad, so to speak, that they can easily rebuild if fighting trashes it at some point. Also
Or they need to trash it.
also keeps it from being, if somebody tried to climb that en masse, it'd probably collapse underneath them and they wouldn't be able to climb the elevator rope up. But yeah, the ground for a good 50 yards around the main tree is that level of blood swampy. Clearly a lot of dying has been done around here. No bodies, though.
I mean,
This is
that's at least
very worrisome.
Yes.
yeah, but no, at least
I think they're not being any. But no, that's bad. That's bad.
Well, the only theory I can think of is we know some of the scouts. No, not scouts.
hunters.
The hunters that fell are now on
Forgers.
the other
Yeah,
side.
but that was like 6 people.
At most, yeah.
50-yard
Not to this-
radius of blood-soaked ground. I know that the bipedal body has a lot of blood in it, but not that much. Even if you add in the foragers. So there would have been a lot of enemy dying on this ground, so where are their bodies?
Either they recovered them as they were being pushed back, or they were pulled into the ground.
If they were pulled into the ground, wouldn't the ground be a little bit worse than this? Given that most of the enemy
I
is
don't know anybody else. Or they got back up.
Certainly possible.
Yeah, considering we've seen flesh-crafted abominations from at least one instance of this,
And that's
that
all.
would not
That's
surprise me.
that's
Thank
reason
you,
for them.
Darvin, for reminding me of that nightmare.
That's reason for them to drag the bodies away.
I'm gonna
I'm
cast.
here for you.
Guys,
I'm gonna cast Divine Sense.
it's been a while since the other person who
So to detect.
that's divine
Mainly
smite.
undead. Oh nope.
That's
Clicked on the
divine
wrong
smite.
one.
That one gets used
Over
a
here.
lot. I know that one.
Yes.
Depending on
There we
how
go.
defense goes, we might need that next.
There was an S and an E at the end, and then
No, because smite is SM.
I know. But
Oh, I see.
my
Because you were looking at the
eyes-
two. Yeah, okay.
Mm,
There don't seem to be any celestials, fiends, or undead within the 60 feet that you've got.
Okay.
So wherever they are, if they're undead, they're not here.
Well, there's no undead around here, so at least that's good.
Good enough.
Okay, so where is Rylan going to lead them first? Oak trees or marsh? Because oaks don't grow that well around marsh. So it's
Oaks
basically
first,
Okay.
because Rylan's going in order, mental order.
Okay, fair enough. One place you know that oaks... Basically, you know the spot where the oaks are, and you also know the spots where some of the oaks are a bit sickly. Partially because... probably because they've got this star nettle choking them off, and it's probably helpful to the oaks that haven't been grown upon by star nettle, just on the grounds that oaks get big. And so having a lot of very big oaks in one spot would strangle them all anyway, so... You know the approximate spot. It's about a mile out. Sort of in an easterly direction.
Yeah, I'm leading the way.
Okay, anything to how you're doing this? Extra perceptive, attempts at sneaky... I mean, to be fair, sneaky might not be a great idea because even with the ring, Alisane needs to be able to see you guys.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm leading the way. I'm going to be trying to keep my eye out.
Hey,
Yeah, I'm keeping ears and eyes.
anybody's keeping a specific eye out, give me a
Same
perception check.
8.
I'm
Makes
all
sense.
hanging
That's
on
why
you
I'm
guys for
leading.
this.
Darvin is attempting to decide whether he wants to prestidigitate his boots now or wait until he gets back up.
You know, I actually had that thought out of character. Like, I was like, do I want to do it now or do I want to do it later? So that tracks. That entirely tracks. Thank you.
You're not helping my case
know me
when I
too
keep
well.
telling Marion I'm not a mind reader, you know.
Welcome to
Yeah,
Fast
but you've
Thoughts
known me
Like
for like 20 years.
Yeah, I suppose that's fair enough. In any case, Ava and Rylan, this makes moderate sense. They're... Even in a war zone, you'd still think, I mean, particularly given there's nothing fighting in it right now, you'd think you'd be able to tell that there were birds, squirrels, the occasional badger. But
Remy with a nat 20. Damn.
But no, No, particularly for Rylan, who knows the sounds of this forest. This is their home.
Is
It
it normally this quiet?
Not even remotely.
it's
So,
Clarity and Remy who spot. I mean, it's this out of the corner of the eye thing, and you're not going to be able to see perfect details unless you get close to it. But there's a clump of some form of bush or other. This is not any of y'all's terrain, where you're seeing more of that blood marsh ground and what might be a couple of limbs sticking out from the bush. And Remy with a natural 20 looks a bit more up, because Remy is short. She's used to looking up. And there's a. You assume it was a wood elf when it still had skin. But it's kind of nailed to that spot just above sight line by what you think are bone spikes.
Rylan, hold up a minute.
Everything
we're
okay?
not- No, but so we're not surprised when we see this again. I'm sorry, but look over there.
Yeah, when pointed in that general direction, you'll see both the part hidden, and then that.
I
I
I
think we're
reiterate,
liable to
thank you,
see
Darvin, for
more.
reminding us all of that nightmare.
This probably won't be the only one we see out here.
Almost like you
Yeah,
summoned this
probably.
nonsense.
Are you going to check the bush?
Yes.
I'll cautiously approach.
Okay. Yeah, you see a boot which probably has at least a foot and leg in it and an arm. You're not sure what, if anything, they're attached to. But this is dense bunch of bushes that Rylan will recall were basically great hiding spots in the kinds of hide and go seek games that the adults encouraged you all to play for tracking purposes. So that kind of steps all over that memory. Sorry about that. But nothing appears to be moving in it.
First of many.
Mm.
I'm worried we're gonna probably run into.
I'm giving their shoulder a squeeze.
Anyone have any idea what made the spikes?
That's a good question. My first guess was a spell, but I don't know.
Because those are not like wooden stakes or anything crafted. Those are
Rylan remembers being impaled to a wall with something very much like that.
Those are bones. I know how some of that at least feels.
wait. You mean
Didn't
from
that thing in that kinda ate me in...
Yeah.
Yeah.
The flesh.
Oh, good.
Bloody
Undead
thing?
flesh crafted abominations confirmed.
Hmm.
Lovely.
There's necromancers afield.
Seems so.
There's something I failed.
Terrible
That's the
question.
thing. These don't just
In-
happen. They're made.
In any sort of circumstance, this is a terrible question, but where's the rest of this body?
Well, that's the thing. You haven't looked into the bush to find out whether there's anything, whether those are separate parts or they're attached to something. You have not looked deep enough into the bush to find out.
I'm gonna take my dagger and push aside some of the branches.
Yeah, they move aside relatively easily. They're dense, but they're light. They're the perfect hide and seek bushes. That body was probably one person. They've just kind of been bisected. Dressed very much. Well, I mean, it takes a minute because it's been dyed a kind of a muddy off brown of drying blood, but yeah, that does look like what the wood elves tend to wear. And there's a satchel attached to the arm that was in the bush. But yeah, this is either two separate people or one person that just got ripped in half. There are, however, no, you'd expect more innards. There are no innards. The skull is also, you know, when you have a soft-boiled egg and you put it in that little, and then cut off the top and eat it out of the...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there isn't a brain in there either. This was, that part was done a lot more neatly than the rip. Just as an FYI.
Out of character, that terrifies me for a number of reasons.
So wait,
You damn well know why.
I can
I'll just
see
drop the
red
cartoon
halo.
halo. Yeah.
Does this body have skin?
Mostly.
Okay.
I mean, it was missing a great deal of scalp.
So we're gonna have try to be careful.
Clarity, you are the current intelligent one. Satchel, a couple of groups of foragers went missing. If this is one of the groups of foragers, maybe asking Rylan how many a normal group of foragers is, and also find out what they've collected already.
Yeah, I'm gonna gently sort of take the satchel and open it up.
Yeah, what you're finding is, when you've got somewhat wilted looking star-shaped nettle things, they might not be as good at this point. There's a chunk of bark that's got some really interesting patterns inlaid. There's something wrapped in a damp cloth, lumpy looking thing, and there's this purple carrot that when you look at it, it blinks at you.
Like with light or with
No,
eyes?
one eye. Blink, blink.
A purple carrot.
A purple carrot. Very dark purple carrot.
Yeah, no, those are actually a thing. Those actually are.
I know.
In fact, a
I
real
know.
life thing.
Purple carrots are a thing, but they don't normally. They're not normally cyclopses.
Have eyes, no. No, the eyes are new.
Hi?
It doesn't say anything. It just blinks at you.
Did we see that at
What?
that point?
Well,
Clarity,
Sorry,
who
what are
you
you saying
talking
hello
to?
to over there, babe?
Rylan, Do your carrots have eyes?
You know what? Rylan is occasionally a curious individual, so I'm just gonna give him this one. That is a midnight carrot. You were always told not to dig those up, unless you were giving them to the apothecary because they're not for eating.
Don't eat it. I don't care what your brain is telling you. Do not eat it.
I'm
We're going to process
Maybe
what
actually become one
this
of us.
says about you. Or me. And your opinion of me, Ryan.
Yes, you basically know not to eat those because they will hurt you, and they are to go to the apothecary because reasons.
They are to go directly to the apothecary when we get back.
Okay.
I need to see what's in this satchel I've walked over.
Yeah, there's also, you know, like I say, the thing, there's a few things each wrapped in less damp now. To be fair, it's probably only slight bit of moisture, cloth, some little red berries.
Do you recognize these berries, Rylan?
Yeah, those are leaven berries. They're kind of like the good berry spell, but occur naturally.
Oh, those are lemon berries. Those are fine.
Leaven berries, Leven.
The lemon berries are safe.
I eat those. They've been hanging around with the one-eyed carrot.
There's no cross contamination with those.
Yes, you can eat them. They're like good berries, except natural.
Yeah. Still going to just close that up and hold on to this satchel.
Okay.
The one-eyed carrot.
I'm gonna hand of fate this. Fan of hate is somewhat kinder to you. As she's closing that, you notice the wrapped bundles. You want to either get those wet, get those cold, or get them as far away from you as possible. Because those things, when they get warm, explode.
Oh, those wrapped things explode. We don't want those having heat on them.
Wait, so were the berries wrapped in the things?
No, there were some bundles, like I said, a few individually wrapped, sort of yay big-ish kinds of situations, wrapped in cloth that used to be damp, but aren't damp anymore, really.
Okay,
they felt
damp or cold.
Misunderstood.
They felt to you like pine cones.
Okay, what
Damp
are they?
or
Yeah, Rylan, they are literally exploding pine cones.
they are quite literally exploding pine cones.
Oh,
You need to get those damp or frozen, or get someone to throw it as far away as we can.
I'm gonna pour some water from like my water skin.
Yeah, it's cool enough out there, so that should be fine for a little while.
Okay.
But yeah,
Okay.
you did find star nettle in there, but it's probably past its best. Some of those were clearly gathered like a couple of days ago. But there should still be some nearby if you keep going a little ways that way. Yeah, once you get to there, it's fairly easy to spot which ones are star nettle. They're a very distinctive nettle.
Yeah.
I think it probably should be Rylan actually collecting them, and now you have a satchel to put them in. so you don't have to rummage around the bag of holding for them.
Okay,
It
one
doesn't-
down.
Yeah, you take as much as you can while still leaving enough to grow more. Because, as you can probably imagine, they're going to need as much as they can get, but still you don't want to completely denude the area.
Oh, yeah.
You can also pick some more of those leaven berries, because those are fairly common. And they tend to grow in a similar sort of spot, too. If nothing else, those tend to make the various potions taste a little nicer, so...
Then I'm definitely grabbing a handful. Couple handfuls for us. One down, two to go. Marsh is...
Marsh is about 2 miles straight north.
Marsh is north. We go north.
What here?
And since we're on a slightly separate bit of journey, perception checks again.
The fact that there's nightmares in the area has me looking around now.
Well, Remy's gone from nat 20
not 10 this
to
time.
nope.
So looking for limbs sticking out of bushes.
Yeah,
Not necessarily an
Fives.
immediate threat.
it's I mean, it's still quiet. It's still far too quiet. Looking low, you'll generally see, as you're getting out of the oak grove, some of the ground is a bit more disturbed than you think it should be, but Remy in particular doesn't know shit from forests, so maybe it's just passing along. Ava and Clarity are doing what the rest of these guys are avoiding doing, and looking up. You know how butcher birds will kind of tear their quarry into little shreds and hang them from the branches of trees to dry off?
I didn't. But
I
okay.
do now.
Hey, we learned.
I'm
Today I learned.
I am a font of trivia, but anyway, yeah, it's like we're well past autumn. Leaves shouldn't be that's not leaves. That's like meat. There are also some bits of bone that don't quite look like the bone lance, mostly because they're a bit more haphazardly broken, but still strong enough to be sticking out of various trees. Like, what could have been bracket fungus from one angle turns out to be half a rib cage. Yeah, so you see Ava kind of stop and going,
I'm not the only one seeing that, am I?
That would be
Probably
half
aren't
a rib
hallucinating.
cage.
Is that?
If I look up, I'm gonna have the urge to set it on fire, probably. So I don't think I want to look up.
I'm
No,
handing
you
a
really
fate
don't.
this. Yeah, you don't look up. You in fact look away, which is around the point where you find somebody sort of crammed the front half of a skull into the tree at about your eye line. So you turn around and skull.
I hate everything about this little trip.
And
I am
you were in
Very much resisting the urge to hit this thing with all the force I can muster right now.
somebody more
I do
sympathetic
not
than...
want to chop a tree down by accident, so
Just
somebody
no,
please help.
no.
I feel bad for Rylan at this point. Everybody is going, this is all horrible, and Rylan is like, this is my home.
I will process that trauma later, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's also not how it's normally supposed to look, so.
No.
I'm very much not here for this as is. Which means... Oh boy, Ryland, I owe you about 100 hugs.
Rylan processing what that translates into in other currencies as a distraction. Okay. Okay. Things, just a lot of things.
Then another shoulder squeeze.
Just don't think about it too much. We have flowers to get for Ham.
You get to the marshy bit with no particular further ado beyond the fact that there should be birdsong and squirrels. But there isn't. There's just, I don't really want to look at the trees right now just in case. The area around the bank, it's kind of hard to properly make any sense of, because something that looks almost like seaweed but isn't quite, because it seems to be happy enough out of the water as well, seems to have taken over a lot of the bank.
Is
That's
Rylan, is
not
that
normally
native?
It's native, but it shouldn't be.
outside of the water.
Make me a history check. This is specifically for Rylan. Yeah, the witchweed is supposed to be a guardian of this spot. The fact that it's spread out so much clearly means that whatever witchy presence is in the pond, because you were never entirely sure, you believed about the Marsh Witch, particularly when you found out that she wasn't actually a swamp hag. But whatever power protects this particular marshy area basically sent the protective weeds out. Because if you get too close, that's going to drag you in and drown you.
Darvin, to answer your question, yes, but not this far.
Okay.
This is a
I
protective
don't know
plant.
I don't know from swamp.
This is
Okay,
protective.
so-
Something has pushed the protective magic all the way out here. Also, don't get too close to it. You will be pulled into the river or the pond and drowned.
Thank you. That's what he needed to know.
Hey,
It's just a concerning omen, if anything else.
So where do we find, what was it, the green
Dracus flower.
Dracus?
It's entirely
And then
possible.
there was a third one. Oh yeah, the Lady Luck.
For Rylan, it's entirely possible that if the green Dracus flower grows on the banks, it's currently being covered by this stuff. And if you don't want to get too close to it, the only thing really to do is trying to remember back into the old legends. It was something about throw something sweet into the marsh and call for the Marsh Witch and see what you can do.
The Dracus flower grows on the banks, meaning we have something that's sweet, right?
Looks at Hazel.
We've got several things.
Oh yeah, I'm sure we do. Yeah, I mean, shoot, I'm pretty sure Evan probably stashed yet another bag of squidgy bears in my pocket last time we were home.
What kind of
I haven't
sweet are
checked.
we? What
Any kind of
sweet
sweep,
are
we just have to
talking
throw
about?
it. Any kind of sweep, we just have to throw some of it into the marsh and call for the witch.
That should
Because of
it
my
should
guess-
probably be you. You've got to figure that since everybody else is intruders.
I'm gonna probably have to throw it
And
just to be safe.
And yeah, if Darwin checks his pockets, yes, there is. There's actually 2 bags, one of squidgy bears and one that seems to be of some kind of homemade caramel. It used to be in bits, but he
I'm
didn't.
gonna keep the caramel.
Yeah, that's the thing. It used to be in bits, but he didn't remember to wrap them individually, so now they're kind of.
Oh.
Now they're kind of a lump.
That's gonna take forever to chew through. I mean, I kind of want to keep it because it was homemade, but at the same time, Riley,
As long as it's
squidgy
sweet,
bears or
anything will
caramel? Right, thanks. That was a big help. Not?
I'm sorry. It's just anything will do. I don't. It's not what I. Just hand me
We
something.
can get more squidgy bears here.
Oh God, Marsh Witch. If you're out there, can you pull the weeds back a little bit? We need to grab some of the Dracus flowers. And I just throw it.
It lands on top of the weeds, which then kind of wrap it around and there's a pause. And then wading out of the weeds, very, very small kind of individual, fairly amorphous little face with little button eyes. It's kind of like anybody have ever seen the Dark Crystal and those little guys who them basically.
I'm sorry, these I'm unfortunately unfamiliar. I've only seen it in chunks.
We'll Google an image, but it's basically a very small person, very, very brown robe.
The
Squidgy
little
kind.
pod people, right?
Yeah, squidgy podlings. That's the word. But
Thank you. That's what it was. It was pod something.
yes, if you want to Google podlings, then you will understand what I am talking about. But this is a little brown robe.
Hi.
Why exactly are all these people here?
They're with me. We're here to help. We just have to grab a couple of flowers, bring back to the rest of the elves, and then we will be on our way.
The world depends on flowers?
Right now, kind of healing that our apothecarian needs.
Ooh.
Yes.
I will see if there are any still leaving. It is just that we keep having bad things trumping around the place.
I understand.
I don't really want that kind of centerpiece in my living room anymore. We had to pull one of the stranger ones down, you see.
I understand.
It had too many legs.
Was informative. Terrifying.
Yeah, the weeds don't pull back exactly, but there's a sense of something or someone moving underneath them. So, kind of like watching a cat moving under a blanket.
Huh.
And then, you didn't tell me which flowers.
The green Dracus flowers. Apologies.
Green ones. Okay. Comes out with kind of look like soggy green daffodils, but there's a curl to their petals that looks a bit like dragon's horns. These are new. They came
Thank you kindly.
They came since the scaly thing. You want to tell people to stay away from here. We drown the too many legs thing. We will drown anything else. The winged ones were too fast. Them I would not mind as a centerpiece.
I will keep that in mind, but thank you very much for the flowers.
And since apparently nobody's going to ask about the thing you came here to do in the first place.
Hold on. There's a...
Clarity's waving.
Rylan! Call it back! The ones with wings! They're people with wings!
We need...
Where'd they come from?
Rylan,
Where are they?
And,
details.
Right.
and where's the big green thing? The big scaly one. And heck, have they seen any Lady Luck around?
Ava, well, first of all, no, they wouldn't have seen Lady Luck around because Lady Luck doesn't exactly grow in marshy areas as far as you know. Ava, of course the Marsh Witch would have seen a green dragon because this is their natural habitat.
Right.
So as they're going back and forth about this, you're thinking, and then you're just
Of course. Green dragons, marsh, natural habitat.
Sorry. Yeah. Never mind. Sorry.
Still probably want details on what else has been seen.
Stuffing some, like honey roasted nuts into a little bag and giving it to Rylan.
Did Green Dragon not give us the answer you guys were?
She was asking about the Erinyes.
I think about the Erinyes and the Green Dragon because this is Green Dragon territory. The kind of Green Dragon territory they fight blacks over. And yeah, if they saw the winged ones, they saw the Erinyes. So it's basically, could you come back and answer some questions, please? Sorry about this.
Gods, I'm terribly sorry to call you back so soon. We are going to go away after this, but we just have a couple of questions about what it is exactly you saw and what you want as centerpieces that we can.
Yeah. You fling those in, and there's a pause, and she comes back out.
I'm terribly sorry to have to do this.
Sort of gives what would be a grin if she actually had any teeth. I cannot eat these.
Oh no!
But I'm here anyway.
Oh, wait. No, not that either. Wait, no teeth.
Those winged...
You could suck on caramels.
Those winged things that you saw and tried to grasp but couldn't. Is there anything you could tell us about them?
They were obviously looking for something in this territory. They wanted some kind of safe spot. Well, there's more than one of them. One flew by a
Just
little
wanted to
while.
make sure.
One flew by a little while ago, but the colors were different. Which, out of character, probably means LSA scouting.
LSA.
I would say.
But yes, they were looking around my area like they wanted to do something here, and I did not want them to do something here. So I sent out the witchweed. Where they're going to put that nasty smelling thing in is not going to be near my pond.
Do you remember which direction they went?
They came from a few different directions. I think they probably circled things. Yeah, out of character, remember, these are not stupid. They're not going to fly straight lines.
What did the nasty thing, smelling thing look like?
I didn't see it very well. I just smelled it.
What did it smell like? Beyond the nastiness.
Sharp and tang and a weird kind of slimy. This is going to be a straight up intelligence check. Honestly, it makes sense that it's Darwin, because sharp, tangy, and a weird kind of greasy. That's a very poetic way of saying metal and oil. It's just that this Marsh Witch clearly doesn't know what metal is. So it was the only way she could describe it. So all the rest of you are going, the fuck? And
Guys.
and Rylan is thinking, that sounds like how I find metal smelled when I first did. Because obviously metal isn't very common to you either. But for Darwin, it was right away. Yeah, that's exactly what she means.
Yeah.
Is that
Rylan,
what I
back
think
me
it
up
is?
on this, because I get the feeling metal and oil.
Okay, so we are on the same page. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like the bomb, alright?
What is bomb?
Yeah, I've heard a few poems
We are going-
describe it much like that.
We're going to take care of the problem before it affects you
What
and your space.
is bomb? Please.
It is a thing that these winged people have put together.
Out of character.
That if
try likening it to a very big exploding pine cone.
Pine cones.
It's a very big exploding
pine
pine
cones.
cone.
Rylan.
Ooh.
There you go.
And would
Very
still work in wet.
Yes.
Yes.
There will be all the witchweed.
Oh, Jesus.
Yes.
Oh, good God, you're giving the local fae reason to be... Yikes.
We are going to do our best.
If it keeps things protected,
It's
We're going to do our
my
best to take care of the
pond.
situation. And for the spaces outside of your pond, we are going to try and help remove it from here.
But if I grow more witchweed, the big green scaly thing might get cut too. Nastiest little smirk on this toothless little mouth.
You know where the big green scaly thing usually is?
No, I just know that when it tries to look here, it seems to like to look here. Because mine is the best pond. It's my pond!
It is a very nice pond. I agree.
So I send out the witch weed and the pumpkin princes. Under the weeds again.
The pumpkin prince.
Come,
Riley,
comes,
what's a pumpkin prince?
well, no, that's the thing. The Marsh Witch is gone.
I
Goes
bet
back
we are
with
about
this.
to be shown.
This, you know those little mini pumpkins,
Like the Green Goblin has.
like that, but veined with gold. Now, if you eat these, they are healthsome, but you brew them correctly into a powder, and you sprinkle that powder on your enemies. They will turn into pumpkin.
That's one way to deal with enemies, I suppose.
That is really clever.
I want to see big,
You're
green,
amazing.
scaly pumpkin.
You know, I say we try to make that happen.
Can I get some?
I think it might be a bit of a dangerous thing to trade with you because you are spoken for already, and your mistress probably wouldn't want you taking favors from me.
Sure, okay.
I like her vibe. That's why I don't want to disrespect her.
I understand. I like your vibe.
I like my
You're
vibe
a
too.
very wise individual.
I am the Marsh Witch. In that tone of fucking course I am. What do you take me for? Kind of. Do you want to be a pumpkin?
Absolutely brilliant is what I take you for.
Do you want to be a pumpkin?
Not particularly, no.
You see, this would be why I would want to make you into one.
I'm going to shut up now. Yes,
Probably a good idea.
that's why I'm going to shut up now.
This is probably the most sincere and heartfelt bit of applause you as a bard have ever received. Is there anybody
Thank you
else who
again.
needs to be pumpkins?
I'm going to have a bonus to my depression checks for the next hour.
Thank you again for the help.
I am assuming you are looking. You say you are looking for apothecarian things.
Mm-hmm.
I have a couple of things. They might be useful. Sploosh. Comes back up with looks kind of like a cross between a mushroom and a petunia. Sort of a blue, purplish kind of thing. I'm not sure which one to give this to, but it makes you smarter. If you can brew it into a potion, it makes you much, much smarter. And then there is this. Interesting green leaf with kind of silvery patterns on it. If you just eat the leaf, you know how you have to have a certain level of charm to keep from being mind controlled? This makes you better at just eating it raw. It makes you better at defending against this. If you brew it into a potion, it makes you much, 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 much more charming. For about an hour. These are not permanent things. Oh, does somebody want it? Even if there is someone of your number who keeps getting whammied, and would probably appreciate the protection of... Yeah, this starts to beg the question, how the fuck did she know about that?
Every single farm girl instinct is screaming, "Oh God, this is an archfey! Oh God, this is an archfey! Oh God, this is an archfey!" Like, you can see, I'm like halfway to just turning and bolting in a random direction out of sheer apoplectic panic.
Clarity is holding on to Hazel, but not to keep her from leaving. It's to keep herself from asking to be turned into a pumpkin.
Perfect.
You've got the terrified cleric. Rogue who's got
Looks
interesting ideas.
looks at Rylan. I will give you these and one more fun thing. I will trust you to know where to go with them. Squelches the weeds
Take the
seem to be
funds.
holding her up. One flower, one leaf, and this little pellet. You throw this at someone, and sneezing fit.
I see.
Is Rashnettle. Is Rashnettle.
Well, thank you for the extra supplies.
Well, you are going to help keep the stinky thing away from my pond.
Yes, we are.
You know, I could be more helpful to your people if they actually didn't avoid me all the time. I'm not just here for when you're having panic moments. Sometimes you could just call on me to almonds, potions, news. Nobody comes to me with riddles anymore. It's disturbing. But you have a world to save, so I understand this. But tell your people
It is.
they don't have to avoid
I will.
me. I'm not that
And I
scary,
will.
am I? Look at me, I'm tiny. That one thinks I'm scary.
Hyperventilating.
I will still send word.
Comes up with a little leather bag, walks up to Hazel.
Very, very, very shakily takes it.
Try one. You open up the bag and there are these little discs of slightly pinkish green crackly substance. It's almost like the dried seaweed you've seen in one or two places.
I'm too afraid of being impolite, so I am trying one.
It's actually really nice. It's you know the sort of dried seaweed you get with Chinese food that's usually all in sugar. That's the taste and the texture with an extra bit of ginger pepper kind of kick.
Oh, so basically like the really good furikake, basically.
Probably. But very, very much it's sweet and quite spicy and kind of melts on the tongue.
Waiting for the inevitable Fey effect in 3,
No.
2.
No?
It's just very, very tasty.
Cleric equals baffled. I've been stun locked out of fear into confusion. Like, I don't get it, but it's good.
You all gave treats? I am giving treats back. That's another thing that your people could do. We could exchange treats.
I have a question.
Little tiny bears and they go squish. That's really neat. Yes?
Where does Governor Fortinbras keep his armies? In his sleeveys.
Actually, taps sleeve and pixies. Just keep coming out of the sleeve.
Yo, what the?
And yeah, you wind up with a small army of pixies.
They're just falling out of her sleeves.
Yep. And flying formation around her head.
Uh-oh.
Good God, why are we giving a local archfey ideas?
You're familiar with military formations then. Very good.
They have their own military. And they will take orders. You all can polymorph, yes. You find the gray-skinned and the squidgy, and you turn them into newts.
What the fuck?
Newt army!
Oh boy.
It's terrifying with the funniest thing in existence. Thank you. That's
And yeah, they just you take off in all directions.
Dwight That's Running Changeling is a nightmare show.
Nightmares or dreams too.
Case in point.
I will let you go and save the world now. But you should have a bit more foraging time because Army of Newt! And then turns.
Thank you for your
Thank
help.
you.
Thank you.
And
Okay.
from a tree branch way up there, you've got. You know, when I heard she was freaked out by the winged ones, I decided I was going to stay out of the way, and now I'm glad because I was a perfect audience for that. Alice, taking a cue from Niala Mobius and just hovering it, just hanging out in this tree.
Well, 2 down, 1 to go.
Well,
How'd the scouting go?
Yeah, I'm gonna ask.
maybe step away from the pond so I've got a decent landing spot
Yeah, let's
Right.
let's move out.
and land. Well, there's good news, there's bad news, and there's weird news.
Okay.
The weird news is
Start
kind
with
of
the
yours.
bad, go
to
to
be fair.
good.
Bad news is that, well, actually, no, I should start with the good. Because actually, it's good news, bad news, worse news, weird news.
Oh boy.
Good news is I found the Lady Luck.
Okay.
There's about 3 of them in a clover patch that's currently untainted. Bad news, it's in one of the more shielded areas of the High Elf Palace Gardens.
Oh no.
So I don't know how anybody gets in there, and I think there's only one person we could ask to find out. Worst news is that Arkin and his whole bunch are basically holding the castle right now.
So he's there too?
Yep. And weird news is kind of yours, because apparently you've now got an army of pixies determined to turn every enemy they can find into a newt.
Yeah. Yeah, that was within a few minutes of you showing up, probably. the conversation
Oh
somehow.
no, I caught the entire conversation. Like I say,
Oh, so you caught Clarity convincing an archfey to deploy an army of pixies.
like I said, when she first said she was freaked out by the winged people, I decided to stay up in the tree and keep my mouth shut. Which is something the other bard maybe needs to learn something about.
Yeah, Darvin. How many
I
stories about
did
Fae
eventually.
have you read or listened to?
I get it. It's a tense
That's why I
situation.
said I was keeping my mouth shut.
Eventually, you're getting it. Just flagging up. And we tease because we love. Anyway, point is that, yeah, the only place we're gonna find that Lady Luck is in, like I said, a warded section of garden.
Only 3. Is that going to be enough?
Given how powerful they're reputed to be, the apothecary kid was talking about finding 1.
I don't know.
I imagine. And
Honestly, we could probably take 2 and leave 1, or just the 1 even.
Yeah. That's a good point.
I don't know, just to leave some behind to keep going,
Right.
growing. I guess I don't know. I don't know how those work. I'm sorry.
No,
We get it.
Apparently, they grow. They either are very carefully cultivated by very particular individuals, or they grow where they're needed. So, if there are still seeds available, great. If there aren't, well, one of the gods or other will send some more down. These are not the kinds of things you can denude. And if they're trying to save that many people with that many more, I get the impression that what your apothecary does is each leaf probably brews into a tea or potion of its own that a bit is added, because it sounds like they get more use than just one dose out of one plant. So if we got that much, they could probably actually treat everybody. But just taking 2 sounds like the best idea, just in case. But that's an issue if we can't get past that ward. The only reason I got anywhere near it is because I disguised myself to look like one of those Aranese just long enough so that if anyone did see me looking around the place, they'd be attacking them and not know I was there.
So, Darwin, you had the right idea, and I'm just gonna fist bump his shoulder.
But we need to get past that ward, and I don't know if it's a blood ward or a personal ward. The fact that it's still up means it's one of those 2. And the fact that it's still up means that there's probably only one person who could have put it there. Looks at Hazel with a slightly sympathetic.
Oh.
Well, if it was anybody else's personal ward, they wouldn't still be alive, and the ward wouldn't be up.
And that would also explain why Arkin is holed up in there. Though, is it weird that I think that makes him remarkably kidnappable right now?
We did want to talk to Arkin.
We already sent him something, didn't we?
We never got around to that. We were kind of busy trying to track down... Well, A, we were busy trying to track down what could go boom, and second of all, you all were recovering from killing yourselves multiple times. Among other things.
Well, hey, I guess we might have an opportunity to finally have that one-to-one. Maybe. It's not like we can't really make it a priority. We have a...
Yeah, but the first...
40
the first
goal.
Yeah. The first thing we need to do is... We'll talk to Barnabas, because Barnabas is good at interrogating a perp. See what he thinks we should do to approach your aunt. I know, I'm sorry, but it's the shortest way I can put it. And then we get those. Probably we're gonna have to figure out a game plan to get those, because without those, we're losing like half of the people they've got left.
Yep. I should probably not be anywhere near her when you guys start asking questions, because I'm either going to gloat or have to resist the urge to punch her stupid.
We'll all get together, see what your apothecary friend can sort out with what we've collected. Because maybe they've got preliminary things to do. I don't know. And then we sort out what we need to. But we're probably going to need Barnabas for it. And either way, we need to stop back off at the settlement. That being said, we are at that time. So when we meet up, hopefully all of us in 2 weeks' time, we will get back to the. Well, we'll finish the rest of this sort of side quest situation. This brought to you by the Beginner's Guide to Herbalism. James Gifford is awesome. And, and head to the Elvenwild situation already in progress. So, see you guys in 2 weeks.